Hi, everyone, and thank you for attending today's webinar, Boost Your VITA Volunteer Base, partnering with AmeriCorps NCCC. We are very excited to have you today, and while we give people a few more minutes to join, we would like you to just sit back, relax, and enjoy this video from our partners.
It's probably one of your least favorite things to do.
This is your total income for the year?
But this year, the chore of filing your taxes could mean a bigger refund than usual.
You gotta make sure that you get that money that you deserve.
Xavier Farrell works with AmeriCorps. He's helped with all kinds of projects across the country. Everything from stocking food banks to fire prevention. But now he and his team are helping prepare taxes for free. Their biggest mission, helping families get bigger refunds.
Giving those people the money that they so rightfully deserve back from the government, it's been incredibly humbling.
Doing this work helped him claim a bigger refund too.
It's a huge help because, I paid my way through school, and so kind of having that extra bump, it takes a little bit of the weight off.
This year was the first year he could claim the Earned Income Tax Credit, a credit for people making up to $57,000.
The level of awareness is actually pretty low for these things.
But Xavier and his team want to change that, because this year, more people can get the credit, because it's now available to both younger workers and senior citizens. And the maximum credit amount is nearly tripled. For single filers, you can get up to $1,502. For filers with kids, you can be refunded anywhere from $3,600 to $6,700. The Treasury Inspector General found about 5 million eligible Americans are not claiming these credits, leaving $7 billion unclaimed.
So that's a lot of money left on the table.
Isabel Dixon works with the Colorado Department of Public Health. She says even if you already filed this year, there's still a chance to claim the credit.
Generally, you can file up to 3 years of back tax returns, so back to tax year 2018.
She encourages everyone to file an amendment and claim past credits too.
Tax refunds can really make a difference, and when families have the financial resources they need, parents and children can thrive, they have better health outcomes, and kids can do better in school.
It all starts with a quick internet search using the words IRS VITA Site Tool. You can enter your address and see where you can get free tax help. If you need more time to file, ask for an extension. Because even after tax day passes, Xavier and people like him across the country will be waiting for the chance to help.
Seeing the excitement in their faces and knowing that was going to help take some of the burdens off. It was nectar for the soul. That's the only way that I can describe it.
I'm Alexa Liaco.
Thank you all again for joining us. We hope you enjoyed that video. And we're just gonna give you some goals and guidelines to get the most out of today's call. So just so you know, the webinar will be recorded and provided within a week from today. And also all attendees are muted to ensure sound quality. But please continue to engage us in the chat, drop questions in the questions box for our Q&A segment. And if you're experiencing any technical issues, please send an email to gotomeeting@prosperitynow.org. And for this meeting, we want you all to get super cozy so that you can take in everything. Join from a quiet space and maybe grab some coffee or a snack to settle in. And again, engage us, send us comments, use the questions box to send us things, and reflect on ways that apply to what you learned today. So either have some paradigm shifts or confirm those unique fundamental beliefs. So without further ado, I'm going to hand things over to Graham O'Neill.
Hi, everyone. And Olivia, thank you for getting us started. As many of you know, my name is Graham O'Neill. I'm a tax strategist here on the network building team, and I help organize the Taxpayer Opportunity Network, Prosperity Now's efforts to organize and promote low-income tax assistance, both through VITA sites and through advocacy and legislation. We're really happy to have you here today to talk about a topic we know is really very important, which is how can we get more volunteers in VITA sites? We know we've heard from our TON members, from SPEC, from every which way that the number of volunteers available has dropped dramatically since COVID. In 2019, VITA had about 56,000 volunteers, and now we're down this year to a total of about 32,000. So we definitely have lost many, many volunteers, and we're more than likely not going to get every single one of those folks to come back. So we thought about new ways that we could bring more volunteers to VITA sites across the country. So if we go to the next slide, I'll just talk a little bit about today's agenda. It's the welcome and housekeeping, which we already did. Then we're going to have a presentation from AmeriCorps NCCC from 3 of the regions across the country. And these are the organizations that you would work with to apply to be a program sponsor and get volunteers for your tax site. After their presentation, we're going to have a group discussion and a Q&A, and then we'll have next steps and our closeout. Next slide is a poll question. You know, we've heard all this data. I told you that we think we know that sites are in desperate need of volunteers, but this poll question is just asking you who are here right now, what percentage of volunteers has your VITA organization lost in recent years? No one's checking, please make an estimate. We just want to get a sense of what people are feeling the loss is like on their end. All right. Okay, it looks like definitely 25 to 50% is the most popular answer. That's not a good thing. You know, I think, yeah, it's more than half of us have felt that we've lost more than 25% and all the way up to 75% or 100% of our volunteers. So we definitely are all feeling the crunch. And I think today's webinar is going to be one of the many different ways that will help you get your volunteer base back to where it was. And we here at TON will keep providing opportunities like this webinar to learn more about different ways in which you can recruit volunteers. We go to the next slide. And with that, I'm going to turn it over to today's speakers from AmeriCorps NCCC.
All right, thank you, Olivia. Thank you, Graham. And hello, everybody. Thank you for joining us today. Before we get started, we'd like to take a second to introduce ourselves. On the call today, we have 3 AmeriCorps staff and 1 existing AmeriCorps VITA partner. My name is Takeo Kishi, and I am an Assistant Program Director with AmeriCorps National Civilian Community Corps, or NCCC, and I am based here at the Pacific region in Sacramento. I've been in this role for just over a year and a half, and as Assistant Program Directors, or APDs, we help develop the projects for our NCCC teams to serve on, and we provide technical assistance with the application process for applying organizations. I will pass it next to Brian.
Hello, everyone. My name is Brian Wegner. I'm also an Assistant Program Director out of the AmeriCorps NCCC Southwest region, which is based in Denver, Colorado. And I will pass it to Stephanie.
Hi, my name is Stephanie Chan, and I'm with the Southern Region Campus for AmeriCorps NCCC. I've been in this role for just over 9 years now, I'll pass this over to Nathan.
Hello, everyone. This is Nathan Davis, serve as the Director of Tax Help Colorado at Mile High United Way in Denver, Colorado, so in Brian's region. And we had the privilege of sponsoring AmeriCorps NCCC Team Fire 3 this past tax season. So I'm just going to share a little bit about our experience with doing that. And I'm going to pass it back to Stephanie.
Thanks, Nathan. So thank you all for calling in. This call is to explain a bit more about AmeriCorps NCCC and how our teams can benefit the various nonprofits, CBOs, and other folks that are providing volunteer income tax assistance to low-income communities. We have a lot of information to cover, so get your notepad ready, and we will take all your questions at the end. Next slide, please. First, we want to take a moment to go over the AmeriCorps family tree. So a lot of folks might be familiar with AmeriCorps State National. It is the largest branch of AmeriCorps, and it makes up the bulk of our members. There are two other branches, however, that you may not be as familiar with. So let's go over this quickly. AmeriCorps, next slide, please. AmeriCorps Vista has about 6,000 to 7,000 members a year engaged in anti-poverty projects around the country. And AmeriCorps NCCC, which is us, is the smallest branch at just over 2,000 members nationwide. It's also our only full-time residential branch. NCCC stands for National Civilian Community Corps, and their members serve on a wide variety of projects, both direct service and indirect, for shorter terms than either of the other branches. NCCC members are team-based, and they serve almost like a blitz force on high-labor, short-term projects. Our members commit to us for 10 months, and during that time, they will serve on anywhere from 4 to 9 projects, each project lasting around 4 to 8 weeks. Our program does not require a match or a cost share, and we take care of things like background checks and transportation. So a lot of our partners are newcomers to national service or organizations that don't have a large grant capacity. Next slide, please, and I'll pass this to Takeo.
All right, hey everybody. So here are each of the 4 regions covered by AmeriCorps NCCC. And it does say we have all 4 assistant program directors on the call today, but we actually have 3, the Pacific, Southwest, and Southern regions represented. Hopefully you're calling in from a state within one of those regions. For any of the states that fall in the North Central region, that campus will not be able to serve tax projects this upcoming tax season due to scheduling. However, they could support other types of projects a little later in the year. And if you're interested, we'd be happy to connect you with our colleagues from that region after today's call. So you've already met each APD, and we will end with a slide including our names and contact. So from here, let's take a look and try to notice which region you're in, and we're going to jump to our second poll question. So take a few seconds to answer this question. What NCCC region represents your current location? Okay, and interestingly enough, it looks like the highest percentage of folks are calling in from the North Central region. So that might be a good place for us to connect you following up at the end of this presentation. Also looks like the Southern region has quite a few folks on the call and some folks calling from Pacific and Southwest as well. So I will pass it back to you, Stephanie.
Thanks, Takeo. So a little bit about our mission. This year will be the 28th class for AmeriCorps NCCC, and our members have served in every state and most of our territories, including Puerto Rico, the U.S. Virgin Islands, DC, Guam, and Saipan. We serve in small communities and large cities, on islands, in the mountains, and out in the desert. We've been serving on tax projects since 1999, And later in the presentation, we're excited to show you some of the impacts our teams have had just in the last 6 years. Next slide, please. So the basics. We do get questions about our members and the NCCC program as a whole. So while our team leaders can be any age, our core members are between the ages of 18 and 26. There's no educational requirement to join, and we'll even help cover the cost of your GED test if you'd like to earn it while you serve. The size of our teams differs throughout the year, but on average, it'll be between 8 and 12 members per team, including the team leader. I'll pass this on to Brian now.
All right, next slide. Thanks, Stephanie. So we want to talk a little bit about who our members are, because these are going to be the volunteers that you'd be receiving, and you're probably curious to know what their makeup is. So a little bit about our members. They come to us from all over the country with a wide variety of backgrounds and education levels. For some, this is the first job experience, whereas for others, they've been representing themselves professionally for a while. Most will have beginner level skills, but they work quickly and are eager to learn and get to know you and your communities. Another note is that they don't have to be from the region they're serving, so you could be in the southern region and have a member from Washington State. Next slide. I want to talk a little bit about some of the benefits to our members. So our members, while in the program, receive a living stipend while they serve and an education award at the end of their service. We also cover most of the expenses and give the team leaders a cell phone and a laptop for work communication. Most importantly, though, our members get a chance to travel the country and serve in multiple states where they get to make a difference in communities while also building their professional resume. Next slide, please. We want to talk a little bit about eligible sponsors. While all of the VITA sites are eligible, we know that some of you may serve with other nonprofits or institution of educations out in your communities as well. Our applications come from a variety of places, and we'd be happy to talk more about other potential projects. Next slide, please. Thanks. This is just a snapshot of a list of our partners. Since 1999, we've had NCCC teams at quite a few VITA sponsored grantees across the country. This is definitely not a complete list, though, as many teams have worked on smaller projects that were related to other programs or projects VITA was involved in. If you see your site on this list and you'd like to know more about the project the team worked on, please let us know. We'd be happy to do that for you. Next slide, please. So this is VITA by the stats for the last 6 years. And diving a little bit deeper into some of our work, you can see that we've had projects sponsored by VITA sites consistently throughout the years. Over the past 6 years, we've helped return almost $45 million to the taxpayer by completing 47,000 returns. As you can see, though, we don't work in every state, which is why we'd love to partner with you and help return money to taxpayers across the country. And I will turn it back to Takeo.
All right, thanks, Brian. So you can take a look here at some of the broad focus areas that our projects fit into. You can take note that our teams serve on many different types of projects, not just poverty reduction or tax preparation, but a VITA or typically poverty reduction type projects would all fit under our urban and rural development. And it's fine if your project fits multiple service areas. So for example, maybe the team prepares taxes with your organization 3 days per week and spends the other 2 days a week working in community gardens, either with you or with a local partner organization. That would be a project that shows great project diversity, covering both urban and rural development and environmental stewardship. Next slide, please. So ways that NCCC can support your projects. I want to share some of these examples of common work tasks, and later we'll show some examples of specific past VITA projects. So please note that we do require someone to provide the training and supervision for our members to ensure work is done the way that you want it done. That being said, our members can help with everything you see here and any other tasks that you can think of that would put a team of 8 to 12 to work. So teams may be split into smaller working groups given prior consultation with our staff. One project I covered in Orange County had 2 to 3 core members each assigned to a distinct tax site within the county. And that took a lot of extra coordination and tight communication, but it ended up working really well in that case. Okay, next slide, please. Okay, so really the big ask here is 40 hours per week of meaningful service work for the entire team. And to achieve both enough work and diversified work, NCCC teams can support your organization or your community at large through much more than just tax-related work. In fact, filing taxes for 40 hours per week can often lead to burnout after 2 to 3 straight months. So it is actually really highly desirable to diversify the project work and tasks. You can have the team work within other departments from your organization if you have a large organization doing other work, or you can partner with another local CBO to have them host the team some portion of each week. So something physical or outdoors is often a good way to mix up the work, like something like sorting and distributing food, or working in community gardens, landscaping, public green spaces, things like that. Okay, so let's take a look next at some photos and examples so we can show off some of the work our teams have completed. And I should also note that you get access to photos our teams take of the project work, and each team has someone trained to write media advisories, and the core members are responsible for reporting, not you. So they'll track the hours and deliverables, put together a report, and then you sign off on it. So I'll start with a Pacific region tax project. So last year, I led a webinar just like this one for a VITA network in California, and a VITA specialist from the Metro Area Advisory Committee in San Diego reached out to me afterwards. She applied, and their first tax project with us, following it, there were rave reviews across the board from both organizations, and MAC ended up winning sponsor of the round. So this nonprofit is a well-established group, predominantly working in Latinx neighborhoods. They provided a robust tax training, had really great staff support, and you can see some of the numbers here in the year prior to our team arriving last tax season. So the year before that, during COVID, MAC had only filed 87 returns, in large part due to COVID and a lack of volunteers. They were aiming to hit 300 returns total, but with the assistance of our team, they got up to over 1,100. This was 11 core members on that team, and they were working 3 days a week with MAC, and they're traveling between 3 different sites as a team, different tax sites. And one notable success from this project was that in order to hit those 40 hours per week of work and diversify the work, MAC partnered with a local nonprofit in the foothills 30 minutes away called Blue Sky Ranch. Blue Sky Ranch provided housing in the form of a glamping type camp setup for the duration of the project. And on 2 days per week, when the team was not preparing taxes with MAC, Blue Sky had the team work at their community farm and do fire fuel mitigation on adjacent public property. So the team commented how essential this diversity in work was for their mental well-being, and the mixture of manual outdoor labor and mental indoor tax prep paired really well. Ultimately, what made this project far exceed some of the tax projects that were real flops was not just that project diversity, but the care, the support, and the mentorship that the VITA specialist and her colleagues provided the team while they were filing taxes. For our next project example, I will pass it over to Stephanie.
Thanks, Takeo. So this project was with Tigert Valley United Way in Fairmont, West Virginia. The team worked in multiple rural counties served by this United Way. Their presence allowed some of the more remote locations to be staffed far longer, which allowed more folks to take advantage of the tax services and financial literacy offerings provided by the sponsor. Many of the clients served in these rural tax clinics were 60+ years of age and lacked access to transportation that would allow them to get to other sites. Finally, the team also worked with United Way on a couple of ADA accessibility projects for their building. They were recognized for their work by a West Virginia congressional staff member. And while the dollar value brought back may not have been as high as some other examples that you'll hear in this presentation, I definitely don't want to discount the incredible value add that an NCCC team can be for a sponsor serving in one of these more rural areas. Next slide, and I'll pass this over to Brian.
Hi, everyone. This project that you're seeing is the Denver Asset Building Coalition, which was the same team that you saw the video from earlier this presentation, excuse me. Over 14 weeks, Water 2 prepared returns for 1,600 individuals, ultimately returning a total of $4,500,000. This number was partly due to an extra tax return through the Colorado state government that is going to be coming this September. But because the VITA project helps a lot of non-filers get their returns, and they're in the system and they're eligible to receive that extra Colorado refund, which is really a great benefit. The team helped 562 individuals claim income tax credits totaling just shy of $1 million. You can see some other of the tax credits here. The team also worked with the child tax credit as well. And then I will pass it to Nathan to talk a little bit about his work also in Denver, Colorado, and across the state.
All right, thanks, Brian. So again, I'm Nathan Davis, and I had the pleasure of serving as the director of Tax Help Colorado at Mile High United Way in Denver, Colorado. So shout out to my United Ways on the call. So we run a network of about 36 sites in Colorado and filed a total of about 5,000 returns this year. And I should preface my remarks by just saying that I'm a relative newbie to the VITA world. So I took on this role in October of last year. So I was really drinking from the fire hose or building the plane that's moved down the runway or whatever cliche you want to pick. Just in terms of figuring out what are the quality site requirements, QSRs, what's publication 4012, all those sorts of things that you do as a new VITA site. And so truly the last thing that I thought I needed was one more new thing on my plate, gearing up for tax season, my first tax season running the program. And so when the possibility of an NCCC team was sort of floated, I think probably with a lot of the same concerns that a lot of you may have, my initial instinct was to pass and say, that sounds great. I'm not sure that this year, in my first year, is going to be the right time for that. But I am fortunate to work for an organization and in a funding environment and in partnership with the state of Colorado and the Department of Public Health and Environment and the governor's office that allowed me to reconsider that decision and ultimately say yes. And I would say saying yes to NCCC turned out to probably be the best decision that I made in my first tax season running a VITA program. So we took on Team Fire 3 of 11 members. And the reason that I say saying yes to that team was the best decision that I made is because that allowed me to say yes to my community. So it helped me solve this is chicken or egg challenge that some of you are probably well familiar with, where we want to expand our services to new locations, we want to extend our hours, et cetera, but we don't necessarily know that we'll have the volunteer capacity to do so. And so it's like trying to hit two moving targets at the same time. And so taking on the NCCC team gave me that certainty and an ability to plan to meet my community's needs as they were brought to my attention. It truly was just invaluable in my first tax season running Tax Help Colorado. So I want to give just two practical examples of how the team made a big difference. So the first one is in Lamar, Colorado, part organization of ours called Lamar Unidos. So Lamar is a rural, small town, about 3.5 hours from Denver. So as you can imagine, a lot of our volunteer force is in the Denver metro area. So we have a rural population, a lot of immigrants in that community. And that site was initially supposed to have 2 tax certified volunteers. And for a number of reasons, we ended up only having 1 tax certified volunteer in that community. And so those of you who run VITA sites know that means you can't do quality review. And so it creates a huge challenge for running a VITA site. But thanks to NCCC and Code for America's Get Your Refund platform that allows you to take on pieces of the VITA process and do them virtually, we were able to actually just adapt and keep that site open, which again did serve a priority rural, highly Spanish-speaking and immigrant population in Lamar, Colorado, that we didn't have VITA sites in otherwise. Second example is in Boulder, Colorado. So Boulder is a famous college town, relatively affluent community, but it was brought to our attention, the congressman in that area, one of his staffers, through our spec RM, told us that they were concerned there was very limited or no VITA presence in Boulder County whatsoever. And so because we had the NCCC team, that need being brought to our attention, we were able to snap into action, tap into our United Way network, and find 2 sites in Boulder County. So one in a community called Longmont, and one in Boulder itself at the main library. And that Boulder library site in particular quickly became, I would say, our busiest site at Tax Help Colorado for the remainder of the tax season. And it was staffed almost exclusively by our NCCC team because we had that capacity and flexibility to, again, to say yes to that. And speaking to, again, kind of the balance of doing tax prep with other things, one of the first things that our team did when they came to Colorado in January was we had just experienced the most devastating wildfire in state history. It was in Boulder County, right outside Boulder, called the Marshall Fire. And so they helped organize relief supplies and things that families were really in need of in the wake of that disaster. And so I thought it was really interesting to watch them go back to that same community to do tax prep, where where families were dealing with the fallout of that natural disaster that had been so devastating for that community. So just 2 examples. All told, we stood up 8 additional sites after tax season started, and the only reason we were able to do that was because we had that NCCC team to be able to give us that flexibility and ability to plan. So our NCCC team ended up filing about 1/3 of our total returns, so about a little over 1,300 out of our, like I said, 5,000. And we were just blown away by their problem-solving skills. They're just super motivated to jump in, roll up their sleeves, and just get stuff done. It seems like it's part of their DNA as NCCC members, and we definitely saw that in action in our community. And beyond that, I just want to impress upon everyone listening that it was just fun to have the NCCC team around. Just young people bring this incredible energy, watching them kind of grow in their confidence and their ability to maybe know nothing about taxes to suddenly be answering really complex questions from taxpayers was just extremely rewarding. And we actually are looking forward to attending our team's NCCC graduation ceremony next week. So they left us and went to Utah, but we are going to make sure we attend their graduation ceremony to celebrate them and their next chapter. So it truly was a very rewarding experience, not only from a programmatic and just getting tax returns done standpoint, but also just the energy and enthusiasm and the ability to watch what those young people are capable of was just fabulous. So I would just say that if you are on the fence, like I was, quite frankly, don't be afraid to jump in. And there will be aspects that'll be a lot of work, but I think you'll find that work to be well worth the effort. And so more than happy either here or offline to answer anybody's questions with regard to what it takes to sponsor a team, but wouldn't hesitate to do it again and absolutely plan to. And that's it for me.
Thanks, Nathan. I can pick it up from there. Next slide, please. So if you want to have a team, like Nathan just described, all of these projects you've heard about, were great experiences for both the members, our sponsors, and the cities they served in. They really did get a lot of great work done. So if you're considering a project with NCCC, here are some things to keep in mind. We want projects that address the needs the site has. So tell us about the impact that the work would have or why it needs to get done now. There should be well-planned tasks with measurable goals. We also know the pandemic is still ongoing. So, not every site or project is appropriate for lots of local volunteers, and health departments will have different groups. So talk about that. Talk about what's going on and why this support, is important. The project should involve orientation and training to make sure that they're doing the work correctly and the way your staff wants it done. Also think about service learning for your site. Our members are always curious about the locations they serve at and the history behind them. So this is a great chance to break out any programs you use with other volunteers or AmeriCorps members. It could be anything from a formal class to a walking tour of the community to show them important landmarks or history, lunch with a staff member that could do an informational interview with them about their career path or how they got to their current job, or even just giving or showing them a documentary about the history of the project they're working on, what the child tax credit is, or the community, they're in as well. Next slide, please. So the role of the sponsor is very important. This is a list of what sponsors need to provide. And again, I'll note at the top here, there is no charge for sponsoring an NCCC team, so no match or cost share. But our sponsors do need to provide a few things, and the biggest one is lodging. Now, lodging is basically 4 walls and a roof. We need access to a shower and bathroom, but we can provide their food if there's a place for them to cook and store it. We can also bring cots and bedding. Members do need to be lodged together since only the team leader has the debit card and transportation through the vehicle. So often we stay in faith-based sponsors, churches, synagogues, nearby summer camps that are closed for the season, such as YMCA or 4-H camps. We've stayed in empty volunteer housing, national and state parks, and even occasionally we provide tents for the teams to camp in. But we would definitely want to have a separate conversation with you if you were thinking about camping, as we would need a backup plan in case of severe weather. We'll also need tools and materials to do whatever it is. This could include laptops for VITA projects or tools for that other extra work, gardening tools, for example, if they were working in a community garden as well. We do have a small supply room, so sometimes we can supplement tools. And all members would have their own PPE, personal protective gear, such as work gloves, hard hats, eye and ear protection if needed. We can also provide chainsaw safety gear as well, though we can't provide the chainsaws themselves. Training and orientation, again, to make sure the project is done according to your specifications. Supervision, at least 50% of their work week should be directly supervised, though we might require more, especially at the beginning of a VITA project where they're, practicing and, learning and, getting their feet under them. The other 50% of the time, someone should just be a phone call away with questions, though. This could be one supervisor or a series of them. We just want it to equal at least 50%, so 20 hours out of a 40-hour work week. And then as mentioned earlier, we do need a minimum of 40 hours of work a week. This is actually the biggest complaint I get from teams, that they ran out of work to do. So our members work fast. They're enthusiastic. I mean, I've seen them clear an overgrown field and turn it into a soccer pitch in a single day. So usually I tell sponsors to either plan at least 45 hours of work a week or get together a wish list of all the backup work they'd love done if the team finishes early. Sometimes there's another organization nearby that might just need them for a day or two if you're feeling generous and want to share them. Next slide, please. So we know what sponsors need to provide, but what does NCCC help with? Well, as I mentioned earlier, NCCC is here to help for short time periods. So we've done as much as we can to put a lot of the risk on ourselves here and make this as easy as possible for our sponsors. We take care of the background checks prior to team's arrival, including fingerprinting and TB tests. We also offer a tetanus shot for members that need one, and we can send a letter attesting to this if needed. Each team has a team leader to serve as a liaison. Though they're not a technical lead, they can help with coordination. They also have a government cell phone for calls and texts. Teams come with transportation via a 15-passenger van, and we cover the gas and the insurance on that van. As a self-insured federal agency, We cover them if they get hurt or injured. This includes workers' comp, torts, etc. And of course, their food budget, laundry, and tolls, if needed for the project, would be provided by us as well. Next slide, please, and I'll pass this on to Takeo.
All right, so NCCC wants to be a part of the recovery efforts, and we're very interested in working with organizations that need some extra assistance right now. We've developed our own policies as we balance serving increasing needs we're seeing, but also keeping our members and the communities they serve safe. So to join our program, Corps members must be vaccinated. And I'll note that while we did attempt fully virtual tax projects early in the pandemic, we learned that this was not a great fit for our members of our program. So hybrid or in-person setups tend to work much better. And any specific questions you might have about our COVID policies can be addressed one-on-one with the assistant program director from your region following up on today's call. Next slide, please. So how do you get a team? The very first step is filling out what we call a project concept form. This is basically a letter of intent that outlines who you are and what the project work would entail. We also ask you what your idea is of where you might lodge the team. This is usually emailed several months in advance to the corresponding assistant program director. So if you take a look at these tables, you're going to see the specific round that aligns with tax season, highlighted in red there, with corresponding project dates and deadlines to apply. So please note that this is different depending on which region you are in. There may be a potential to extend a team all the way through end of tax season, although that cannot be guaranteed. And for the southern region, the project dates may, there may be some flexible date range spanning a portion of both round 3 and 4 to adequately cover tax season. So following this webinar, we will send out our requests for applications that contain both these dates by the region that you're in and a link to the concept form for everybody who's registered on today's webinar. Okay, so next slide. All right, so here we are again at our regional map, and we have our contact information listed here. Each state within a region has a point of contact, and we would be happy to put you in contact with that person that covers your state after this call. So you could go ahead and follow up with the region you have listed. Okay, so now I think we will turn it over to audience questions and answers. Yep. I've seen some coming through the chat, but I'll send it over to you, Graham.
Thank you so much, and thank you for that wonderful presentation. Lots of interesting information and plenty of questions have come through. Just to remind everyone, ask your questions using the questions menu, not in the chat. But let's jump right into them. The first question that came in was, can we get this video? And the answer to that is yes. As we said in the beginning, we're going to send out a copy of this recording to all registrants within a week. The next question is, are national organizations able to apply? And Takeo, I know you had an answer to this.
Yeah, absolutely. We can work with just about anybody who's not a for-profit. So yeah, we often work with other federal agencies like the U.S. Forest Service, Bureau of Land Management, but national networks, national nonprofits, those are all good.
How do they determine which is their region if they are national? Is it where their headquarters is located?
Yeah, it would depend on where the work is going to take place.
Okay. So where the work is going to take place. Gotcha. Next question is, how many service hours do members complete during the 8 to 12-week service period? Takeo, it looks like
so we're looking essentially for 40 hours minimum per week. So, you know, Corps members are signing up for a 10-month service year, and the big picture is 1,700 service hours over that 10 months, which is many different projects. So assuming one of those projects is a VITA project, if it were 8 weeks, multiply that by 40 hours per week, and same for 12 weeks. So just 40 hours per week is what we're looking for. Does that answer that question?
I believe so, yes. So the next question we have is from Linda Hogg in Kansas. And it is, they're wondering if these volunteer positions can be filled annually, or is this a one-time ask? Brian, I'll let you answer that.
Sure thing. Yeah, I hope I understand the question correctly. But you can apply for multiple years or even multiple. If you have work that's going around all year round, you could apply for multiple rounds as well in the same year. Our members are serving most of the year. It's a 10-month term, so you can apply for the winter and the spring and the summer as well. But as I've mentioned in the answer, there is a 60-week limit for any singular organization before you need to take a break of 3 years. So say if you were just applying for 12 weeks each tax season, let's say January to April, you could, if you were awarded, it's not about when you apply, but it's about the actual service that you receive. If you were awarded every year for 5 years, then you'd need to take a break because that total 60 weeks. So yep, it can be filled annually.
Great, thank you so much. The next question is from Brendan, our good friend from United Way Worldwide. Of a 40-hour work week, how many hours do you recommend service members work on tax prep versus other duties? 60%, such as 60% VITA, 40% other. And Takeo was good enough to answer this, saying that he thinks that a 60-40 split is great, but ultimately it depends on your organization and the community and what you can offer. The next question is from Stephanie. I understand how you have a team of 8 to 10 people. Do they all have to be on one site, or can they be spread through several sites? So basically, can the team be spread out? They can be spread out. It just takes some special coordination and requires a strong supervision and communication. Next question is from Sam, which is it possible to host an NCCC team if we already have an AmeriCorps state program? And I'm going to let Brian answer this one.
Sure thing. So we do have some rules about non-duplication and not displacing staff members and things like that. So we'd want to just review the details of the arrangement, but more than likely, we do allow NCCC to serve along AmeriCorps state programs, and we even encourage it. We think that when AmeriCorps resources can work together, they can amplify their impact and do better work for the community. So it's definitely possible and encouraged, and we just want to take an extra little look at it.
Thank you very much. The next question I think was answered during the presentation, but can NCCC volunteers start prior to the tax season for other projects? And the answer is that the dates for each period change slightly from region to region. The next question is from Sam as well. Is it possible to request a team with specific language skills? And Brian was able to answer, you can make a request, yes, it's just not a guarantee. Some members in the Corps may have Spanish, French, etc., but it's possible that no teams will have the language that you're requesting. So sounds like it's something you can ask for, but not a guarantee. Is it possible, next one is it possible in an urban area does there always need to be space to park the 15-person passenger van, or could we provide alternative transportation? And Brian, could you answer this one?
Yeah, I can. Yeah, it's definitely possible to provide alternative transportation like a bus or a metro pass. Again, we want to review the proposal, but it's very unlikely that we'd be able to provide the funds. So it would probably be incumbent upon you to provide the alternative transportation, whether that's, like I said, bus or metro, but no problem for the team to move themselves that way.
Okay, we're going to take about 1 or 2 more questions, which is, if our state is not listed, does that mean we are not eligible? Stephanie, could you maybe cover this one?
Sure, Graham, can you repeat the question?
Sure. If our state is not listed, does that mean that we are not eligible?
Okay, so you are eligible. The states that were not listed belong to the North Central region, and their project dates just don't really align with tax season right now. But if you'd like to be connected to somebody at the North Central region, if you're in one of their states, we would be happy to help facilitate that connection.
And we also put in the chat earlier an email that the representatives from the North Central region sent us that they can be contacted through if people would like to talk to them about sponsoring a team during the extended tax season. So for those of you that are doing work beyond April 15th, that just came in right before the meeting. And someone asked, can we move the slides back to the timeline and deadlines slide? And I think that's something that can be done as a, well, we can move it back right now. Is that possible, Olivia? We'll let Teresa get a shot of that. And then next question is from someone also in the North Central region. And can they apply for a team? And I think we answered that. Are members paid by NCCC? Stephanie or Nathan, do you think you can answer that one?
Yes, so our members receive a stipend through us. They'll handle their timesheets and all of that. No need to worry about that at all.
And Teresa asks, is there a template for the concept paper? Does it have guidance if 2 organizations are teaming up to host a team?
Yes, we do have an instruction guide for the concept form that we can mail out with the concept form.
Okay, and then does the 40 hours include drive time to various ad hoc single-day VITA locations? Okay, could you grab that one?
Yes, it does. Yeah, drive time is included in their work hours. So, you know, typically we're looking for at least in my region, at most 45 minutes of daily commute time. But if you do have longer commutes, sometimes, you know, working 4 10-hour days can cut that down. So we can be flexible there. But that does factor into their 40 hours per week.
Thank you. And Nathan, this question is directly for you. How much time did you set aside for training and onboarding for the team? Were they certified as basic or advanced? What would you recommend?
Sure, yeah. So we set aside a week. Got them here in Denver, spent a week getting them trained. They probably come in with a little bit below median in terms of your VITA volunteers exposure to the tax system, just because a lot of them are like fresh out of high school and may have not even filed their own taxes. So setting aside a week, definitely, I recommend doing that. All of them were advanced certified, and we were able to work through some of the certification exam stuff together, just to sort of make sure that everyone was understanding those pieces as we were doing it. But having them all advanced certified obviously makes it easier to deploy them to different sites and know that they can handle whatever comes in the door.
Okay, we're only going to have time for one more slide. I have one more question. I apologize. And I'm going to ask, this is from the southern, about the southern region. And the question is, the dates don't offer a lot of coverage during tax season. How do you get a season extended or started earlier? Or are the dates flexible at all for the program?
So for the southern region, the dates could be flexible. We have 2 rounds that cover tax season, round 3 and round 4. We would just want to talk about that and what that might look like. There's just a time period of about a week between those 2 rounds that we would want the team to come back to campus. We do a debrief, switch out, but then it's possible that the team could return, back to your site to finish the workout. So happy to have those discussions if that's what somebody is looking at.
And everybody's question who didn't get answered, I apologize. As usual with Con, you guys never disappoint with the number of questions, so we'll make sure that we get the answers out there and out to you when we send around the video. Now, moving on to the next slide, we want to ask one more poll question. Which form of support would assist you in successfully serving as an NCCC project sponsor? The selections are housing, 40 hours of service per week, diversity of work, training, supervision, and/or staffing, equipment and/or tech needed. Which form would assist you in successfully serving as a NCCC project sponsor? All right, it looks like about 60% of people, by far a majority, say that housing is the form of support that they would need the most help with in becoming a project sponsor. And I'd ask anyone from NCCC, does that match up with your experience?
Yeah, Graham, that is typically one of the most challenging parts to working with us, even though there's no cost share, finding out how you're going to house the team. But I would just encourage you, even if you don't have any housing ideas, but you have the work, reach out to your assistant program director and work with us on it. That example I brought up, Mac, they reached out to me and had no housing in this urban area in San Diego. And I was the one who was able to pair them with a past project partner in Blue Sky Ranch. So sometimes there might be a situation where we can pair you up with another organization. So I encourage you to reach out to your assistant program director.
Great, thank you so much. And this is the contact information for everyone. So if you want to grab a screenshot, we'll also be sending out the presentation. Next slide. So just because we are coming to the very end and we want to respect everyone's time, we just wanted to talk about some more of the Prosperity Now offerings that you can take advantage of. Right now we have in our advocacy center, we're asking that everyone take action and know that they can use our advocacy center to help them with any of the advocacy needs that you're working with. So we can help you email a legislator, call a legislator, tweet, schedule a meeting, sign a petition. If you have something advocacy-wise that you need, we can help you. Also, we want to make sure that everybody in TON knows that we here at Prosperity Now have other networks. We have an affordable housing network, a campaign for Every Kid's Future network, and a financial security network. So if you're a TON member and do work in any of these other areas, we encourage you to sign up for that network as well and join some more of your colleagues doing that work. And then finally, we couldn't end without saying, please register as soon as possible for the Prosperity Summit 2020. It'll be in Atlanta this year in September from the 19th through the 21st. And I'm told that the early bird registration rate ends tomorrow. So you'll want to register today, register tomorrow so you can save, I think, about $125 or $175. So please join us. We'd love to see you all in person. We're going to be having a ton networking event in one of the mornings. So I know I would personally love to meet all of you in person. And with that, I just want to say thank you, and Olivia can tell you a little bit about the survey at the end.
Yeah, so thank you for coming to today's webinar and staying 1 minute later. We would really appreciate if you please complete our survey, and we hope to see you at future learning opportunities. Thank you and have a great day, everyone.